Welcome back. Today we will be delving into masking and how to deal with that issue. Getting things like snare drums to pop out, bass drum, other things you may lose in the mix. Using tools like FabFilter's Pro Q3, their C2 compressor, Trackspacer, Gullfoss, and even Soothe. Let's do this. If I had a catchphrase, it'd go here. Check, check, check. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you're just trying to do a clean mix, not a lot of saturation, not a lot of clipping, and you just are trying to get your snare to pop out a little bit. Say you're mixing, and you can't hear your snare drum, and you don't want to give up the quality of the guitar. For some odd reason, you really like it really rich in 200 hertz, and you don't want to sacrifice any meat. What we're going to do is open up FabFilter, and we are going to set a sidechain to the snare drum from here. So when sidechain, so you're hearing a lot of the room snare drums. All right, so you really want it to pop. Here, over here in FabFilter, we have dynamic EQ. Take this little thing, this little slider right here, and you drag it down about 3 to 6 decibels. Depends on how impactful. And this little button here will, when you're playing this, it's not responding to the snare drum at all. This is just its own little threshold for dynamic EQ in case it gets too loud in a certain frequency spectrum or range. But if you click this, then it'll automatically connect with the sidechain here. And every time that snare drum or whatever you have assigned it to hits, it will duck that out of the way. So here's your example. So it's kind of cool. It doesn't have a release time, so you have to kind of, it's not the most accurate, but it's effective. So that's fun. You can also do the same thing for the bass and the bass drum, which is what we're going to do next. So we're going to sidechain it to the kick, and we're going to see where those are at. I'm going to, just for the sake of argument, I want my bass to go all the way down to 37 hertz. Pretty rumbly. Sorry if I blew anybody's speakers, probably not. But we are going to go over here to the sidechain, play this. So it's sharing a little bit of frequency there. It's not all that bad, but you really want that punch to get through. First, you gotta make sure that it's at medium view because you won't have these controls otherwise. Then go over here to auto, and this little button right here links it to the sidechain. Now every time that kicks hits, it's going to shove the other thing out of the way, the bass out of the way. That's good, and you can overdo it if you want. But remember, there is no release speed, so you're at the mercy of this little meter right here. So it's gonna put it up here. It's just gonna catch the peaks. Once again, not accurate, but effective. So with all that, and I know that it's gonna be bassy as all hell. So it's muddy now, but at least you can hear the bass and the snare drum, the bass drum and the snare drum. For the second portion of this, we're going to be taking the guitar and bass and adding them to, and the drum, no, just the guitars and the bass, and we put them into the instrument bus, and we have loaded up Pro C2 by FabFilter. So we're just going to make it that the bass drum really comes through. So we're going to get rid of that side chain that we were using, and we are going to just use a compressor to duck everything out of the way. It's really popular in metal right now. I'll have to do a video on the Nolly bus. The Nolly bus is one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced in mixing so far. And it works on almost every genre that I've tried it on so far. Once you understand why it does what it does and how it does what it does, it's the perfect chain for me so far. All right, so we are going to hit the sidechain. We're going to just sidechain the kick. The great thing about this is that it will affect everything. Well, I'm sorry. That's not necessarily a great thing all the time. The thing about the method that we used earlier, just ducked out the bass and the kick kind of filled its place, which makes for a very like even crest, keeping the low end nice and smooth. But if you're trying to make a big impact and you want everything to just duck out of the way for a split second, and it makes it more impactful, we're going to do a fast release with a relatively slow attack to make sure that the transient gets through. All right, so let's see what it sounds like. Hit the external button. All right, here. Go down to punch or pumping. For this style of music, it kind of works to have more of a pumping feel. But that's kind of overdoing it. We're not as much mixing as we're just... Third on our list is Trackspacer. Boy, this thing does some stuff. Alright, what it does, it's essentially sidechains. Whatever frequency it is taking up, it will take away from the other. So right now we have the guitar and the bass both loaded up here. And what we're going to do, we're going to play it, and say you don't want to give up any of your bass frequencies and you just want the guitar to move out of the way for them. This would be your guy. I just have this on the guitar with the bass side changed. Now, if you don't want it to affect a certain thing, you just put the filters and focus on what part of the bass you want to shine through. You can choose like what part of the frequency range you want it to affect. So if you do have a bass that's heavy in one thing that you want it to shine through, just like right there. The guitar will just move out of the way for it. Or that sounds terrible, but you get the idea. Next is Gullfoss. We're going to hit the sidechain button, go up here, do the same thing. This is great for getting some of those finer. What it does, it actually goes through and gets rid of the masking between the two. It's an intelligent, I don't even know what to call it, EQ helper, demasker, whatever it is. It's awesome. That's that. Last but not least, Soothe. Soothe, apparently, if you use the vocal trick that everybody's talking about, can cause real damage to your phase. But I'm not really. That's if you overdo it. We're going to do the same thing. Sidechain, we're just going to do the bass. Over there. All right. Now these. There's bands. So that just carves out space for the bass to live, and for the detriment of your guitar tone. But you know, sometimes you can't give up a certain tone. You don't want a certain timbre. You don't want a certain tone get away, so you sacrifice the tone for other things. And those are all the ways that I know to get through masking. Isotope has a new one called Aurora, which is it unmasks and it fills the unmasked space with reverb. It's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, that sums up the video for today. Thanks for watching. It means a lot.